Okay, uh, got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and I really don't want to make this like a 20-minute long video. So, first and foremost, there'll be an update on the VKS prototype bolt because I finally got the machinist I've been working with to call me back. Guy lost his mom not too long back, and he hasn't been doing well. And then I'm going to talk about some of the differences between the FN303 loaded with Canada Riot balls that just came in today. I'm going to do a video about those too in the not too distant future. But this current FN303 here has a Siley red dot, a Votatu green laser. This is an MCS mock suppressor. Put a little contraption on the barrel here to hold my Monstrum tack light right there, which I'm operating right here. Laser there. All right. This one is modified. Depending on how far I want to screw it in, it can shoot anywhere from 100 to 160 joules. But once you get up into like the 130, 140 joule range, it's going to break. And I've got quite a few of these, so I've tested that pretty extensively at this point because, like I've always been from the start, I'm interested in, I want to maximize the reliability of my markers more than anything else. I don't want to have them power tuned to a level where they're going to fail. Which is why I made that video about power versus reliability. It's why I made the video about the VKS firing pin set screw issue. That's like the greatest point of contention, I think, in the community of all of us who are really into these markers. The VKS, FSC carbine, same thing. When you max these out past, I mean, the life of any particular set screw in the firing pin is going to vary, but general rule of thumb is if you keep it under 50 joules, that set screw is probably going to last a good while. For me, it does. Anything past 50 joules and the set screw that attaches the firing pin to the bolt is just going to break that much sooner. Every single person who knows anything at all about building less lethal markers in the entire community knows this about the VKS and the FSC. Anyone you ask will reiterate to you what I'm saying about the VKS and the FSC, except the one idiot who maxes out all of his markers and brags about shooting them at 80, 90, 100, 130 joules, and that would be Daniel Sterling. And the reason why he insists that this isn't true is because all the people he sells those markers to, they just break right away. Your set screw is not designed to handle that kind of power. It's not even designed to handle like 60, 70 joules for that long. You will break at that level. So you got to get good at fixing them, and the more you shoot, the more often you'll be fixing them. The higher of a power you shoot at, and the more you shoot, the more often you'll be fixing them. But that is not to say that I don't love the VKS. I do. So this is one VKS right here. This is Midnight Express. I've got 2 mags attached to it right now. Coupler that I got from Vulcan's website. This just has a standard 13 CI pepperball tank attached to it. I'm a huge fan of Monstrum tack lights, so got one on there. Another Votatu laser, green laser. It's just slightly different than the one I have on the FN there. DK Spencer Shorty barrel on the inside that he Cerakoted in matte black, my favorite color. And this shoots at about 52, 55 joules where I've got it tuned. I might be able to get 60 out of it, probably not, but that's where that's at. And I do have the reg cranked up almost all the way on that to get that kind of power. This here is cold steel. And I've made videos of these before. But again, Siley red dot, Votatu green laser. It normally has a monstrum attached to it, but I'm about to take the handguard off this. I'm gonna swap it with this beauty right here that I pulled off a Calico Jack, just playing around. I'm also in the process of, you know, I don't, I've said this time and again, I don't sell these to, I don't advertise and sell markers in these communities. I'm just a hobbyist. I've built a couple of these for double mag in that one too. Gotta love that. I have quite a few of these 10 rounders at this point. I've always on the lookout for them. But yeah, I built a couple of these for Monroe County sheriffs that I've come to know just through dog training, like training their scent detection and attack dogs. And they got really into it, so I've built 4 mods for Monroe County sheriffs. I built a couple mods for some friends. But I just recently had someone ask me if I would build a carbon copy of Cold Steel for them, and I agreed to do that. I just haven't started it yet. I'm moving slow because I'm super busy with dog training. But it was a special request, so if and when that person has not actually paid for it yet, but if and when he does, and he gets his marker and makes an awesome video about it, and Daniel Sterling goes, I thought this guy never sold any, blah, blah, blah. I don't, and I won't. You're never gonna see me like Henry Stone, like just blasting every group with, you know, overpriced markers for sale, or Daniel Sterling for that matter. It's a labor of love. I've spent close to $20,000 at this point on markers and gear and related stuff. I'm not doing this to make any money. I'm way in the hole on this. I'm doing it because it's fun and it's brought a whole bunch of joy to my life. I'm an enthusiast, and these things are tons of fun. But they have also served a legitimate purpose for me. I've used the markers twice now on human beings. And I will tell those stories at great length in the not too distant future. In fact, the 1-year anniversary of the first marker I bought that I ended up using on a human being is approaching. And that's a good story to tell. And I've got a little bit of video from that to share as well. So yeah, Cold Steel, Midnight Express. This obviously is another FN up here. This one is not power modified yet. It's brand new. I've barely done anything to it, except I've put this lion claw barrel on it. Because not only are the stock barrels on the FN too short to really get the kind of power I wanted to get out of them, they are also hideously ugly. And so, even if I didn't get any extra power out of these barrels, it would have been worth the purchase. And what did I want in terms of power? I just wanted to get these at the level of the VKS when I started working them. So I didn't even play with the regulator on these. I just did barrel swaps first, and I still was struggling to comfortably get them to 55, 60 joules, which is where the average VKS is gonna max out at, maybe 70, depending on your barrel, and if you tweak your tank's output pressure a little bit. Unless, of course, you wanna buy one of Daniel Sterling's silly power mods that's gonna make your gun explode by the time you get done with your second magazine. And if you're dumb enough to buy that, be my guest. When you break your set screw, instead of buying a new bolt off him for $150, you can mail it to me and I'll fix it for free and send it back to you. All you have to do is make a video documenting that I did so we can all laugh at Daniel Sterling. And that is a legitimate offer. I will fucking fix anyone's bolt for free. All you have to do is make a video being like, oh, Brian fixed my bolt, thanks, man. And I'll be like, yeah, no problem. And then in no time, Sterling, those are like hundreds of people less that he'll be able to scam selling bolt after bolt after bolt to. So there's that. Now, the differences between these two. Let's talk about the obvious difference first. I love the FN303. I struggle to say it's my favorite marker. It is by far the most reliable marker. It is by far the fastest shooting marker. It is by far the most accurate marker. Is it my favorite? No. No, the VKS is my favorite. Why? Because it's on a 1-to-1 AR-15 platform, and like any other warm-blooded American male, I have an AR-15 fetish. Yes, I admit it proudly. And I'm not a gun nut, by the way, not in under any sense. I love guns, I love shooting. I am also a sensible advocate for stricter gun regulation. So, back to markers here. It's late, all right? I'm a little slap happy right now because I had a good day. So, yes, the VKS, hands down, my favorite marker, hands down. The FSC carbine, to tell you the truth, I want to love this marker so bad, and I don't dislike it. It's just not my favorite because of its design. I just don't like how fat that handle is and that we're loading right there. The VKS has the mags. The FN303 has the drum mags. I still love this marker, and someday I plan on doing more with this little bad boy, but right now it's just my shorty that I strap right here at night with this little 10 CI tank, right? And it's just lovely like that. All right, so the VKS is my favorite because it looks the coolest. It also sounds the coolest, and it is more practical in terms, like from a handling standpoint, right? This guy, by the way, has the DK power barrel in it from back in the day, but you can swap that out with a stock barrel that puts on a couple inches, gonna give you some more joules. Especially if I dropped the extra mag there. That's really just there to keep this standing up on the shelf. But these, I mean, it feels like you're holding an AR-15 when you use them. So how can this not be my favorite marker, right? And they are by far the most beautiful, you know? Nothing else holds a candle to the VKS, and it is, I don't want to say it's the most modifiable, but it's far more modifiable in terms of dressings, in terms of it being the Barbie doll for men, than the FN. The FSC, of course, is modifiable too in that sense. The FN303 is not, okay? There's not a whole lot you can do unless you are going to put a ton of work into creating a new shell casing for it, right? But you dress it up with a little bit of gear, put a mock silencer on it with a new barrel, and it looks wicked. I used to not really like the look of it. Now I think it is stunningly beautiful, but it's bulky, right? That's a big tank. Now, you got this thing at 45 joules and you'll get 90 shots out of that tank. So the only thing you're reloading is your mag. You can't say that about any of these, even if you're putting bigger tanks on them. This is a beefy tank, unless of course you're going to have this kind of setup on one of those, which sort of defeats the purpose of why those were designed the way they are, if you ask me. It's also top heavy, right? Obviously. I kind of wish they had done this a little different to where the tank was back here. But, you know, it's not, I mean, it's not that bad, but it is top heavy. So there's that, and it's a little bit bulkier. And every one of these that I've built so far, I have bought a Pelican Vault case for and custom cut the case to hold its accessories and extra mags and stuff like that. And with the FN303, that's a little bit trickier, obviously, because you've got the drum mag here that goes a little deeper into the case, and then you've got the tank, which of course rises a little higher. So there's pros and cons to both of them. I have played with Burners, I've played with the FSC carbines, the VKS, the FN303. The Umarex is probably my next venture to get into, but right now I'm still wicked obsessed with both of these types of markers. So yeah, by far sexier, louder, more practical in terms of handling and more modifiable, clear across the board. Far more reliable, capable of being power tuned to twice the power that this is and still being more reliable, but not as sexy, not as practical to handle. It takes a little bit of getting used to. And then on a final note, they're very difficult to get, and replacement parts are also very difficult to get, but you can get them, and I have amassed quite a bit of them at this point. Just like, you know, whenever I get into a new marker, you find out pretty quick what the coveted items are, and you stay on the lookout for those. You know, 10 CI tanks, 10 round magazines, right? Yellow button chronograph, anything, you know, I want to get as many of those as I possibly can, especially 10 round magazines. They're a hot item, and if anybody wants to sell me any First Strike 10 CI shorty tanks, you let me know. I'll pay top dollar for them. All right, so what else here? So let me move on to the update on the prototype bolt. For those of you that weren't members of these groups last winter, you know, like I was saying earlier, the main qualm that we all have with the awesome VKS is that the firing pin inside the bolt is attached to the bolt with by a very small set screw that will eventually break. And when it breaks, most of the time you can fix it. You can replace it with a new set screw. Sometimes when it breaks, it causes catastrophic damage to your bolt and you will need to replace the bolt. Most of the time, that is not the case. There are videos made by the con men in this business that are selling, that'll tell you that it's really difficult to swap that set screw out and that it's so precision made that, you know, it's almost impossible to do it on your own. It's not true at all. It's not easy, but it's not hard. And now with the John Wixon 3D hack mods to get your firing pin in there and the set screw in there, it actually is kind of easy now. Or they'll just tell you that problem doesn't exist, and sometimes they'll tell both lies in the same video or in the same advertisement, and they'll say that, you know, I'm the only one that has this problem, and every single person that has a VKS that shoots it has had their set screw break. It's just, Daniel Sterling has probably broken countless set screws. In fact, I'm sure he probably isn't capable of shooting more than a magazine or two at some of those power levels without his set screw breaking. It's also why you will never see him rapid fire. You'll just see him make videos where he's like, O'Brien says I never rapid fire, so here we go, you ready? Yeah, look at that, rapid fire. I mean, he literally has videos where he's doing that. It's so... like, man, this poor guy. But they're out there. They're telling those lies. They're telling you that this problem doesn't exist. And then when it happens and you bring it up to them, they just try and sell you a new bolt and try and convince you that you can't change it on your own. He also sells set screws for like $7 on his website. They cost 14 cents at Lowe's. You just got to find the right size. I know what that size is. I can tell you. I just have to look it up. There's actually two different sizes you can use. There's the stock size, and then there's a size that's a little bit smaller that Sean Kempter turned me on to. Thank you, Sean. And when I made a video about that, dumbass made a response video making fun of me, saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, and neither does Sean. And then months later, he makes his own set screw video. You know, there's this one screw that's a little shorter. I figured all this out on my own. And it's like the same stuff he was talking shit on us for doing months prior. New Guy Less Lethal Reviews. I'm all about helping people save some time. I spent countless hours watching videos when I first started doing this, and I just had real basic questions that I hope the questions that I'm trying to answer in this video are the ones that I had in the beginning. Well, what are the differences? How reliable are they? How powerful can they shoot? How powerful can they shoot without breaking? Well, Daniel Sterling says 137 joules. O'Brien here, Lion O'Brien, says that they'll break above 60 joules if you shoot them regularly, especially if you rapid fire. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Ask around. You'll find very quickly. He's lying. I'm telling the truth. I got no reason to lie. These aren't for sale. I only build them for friends and for sheriffs or maybe like personal requests, but you will never see me with any of these markers being advertised in any of these groups on sale. You'll never fucking see it. And that's because I want to hold my credibility. Because the biggest liar, con man in this community comes after me every chance he gets ever since I started to expose him. And in order to continue to expose him, I'm staying out of the money game. So, I just want to be helpful. I just want to review stuff. Review markers, accessories, gadgetries, humans that are involved in the less lethal community. Maybe open up some discussions about, reliability, power tuning. Maybe share some stories about some wing nuts we had to pop with a pepper ball or an HP 68. All that good stuff. What I don't want to do is just watch video after video of some lying turd building markers that are literally built to fail, knowing that there are hundreds of new people that come into this community every day that are like fascinated by that just aren't smart enough to know that they're being swindled. And that's why I started making videos about the set screw issue with the VKS, because Sterling told me way back in the day, oh, that'll never happen. They're lying. They're all liars. And I was like, really? All these other people that make videos that seem like decent people that don't have felony convictions for taking advantage of flood victims are all liars? I have a hard time believing that. And that's because they weren't. They were all telling me the truth. They all told me the truth except for Sterling. Henry Stone told me a half-truth. He's like, yeah, well, the VKS really isn't designed for rapid fire, but when it breaks, you can fix it, but it's going to be really hard because all the precision tuning, God bless. Yeah, whatever. I'm about to do another video soon interviewing an 80-year-old man who lives in the Bay Area that Henry Stone has stolen $10,000 worth of markers from. That video is going to be fun to make, to expose that fraud and all of his God bless yous and be good to each other's. Yeah, how good was he to that 80-year-old man that he robbed? So anyway, prototype bolt. I went to a machinist. I'm like, let's make a set screw that can withstand this power that won't fucking break. How about that? Let's tap a larger hole in that VKS bolt. Let's Loctite that bad boy in and let's have a bolt that works, that maybe I could get 5,000 rounds out of without breaking like I can the FN. This has, I don't even know at this point. This might be pushing 10,000 rounds. This particular FN here, I have not broken. Nothing is broken on this except one little piece during the modification that I broke intentionally, more or less. And it doesn't affect the performance of the gun. Daniel Sterling knows all about that because he sent people my way to ask me about it. And they took that information back to him. And then I counted down for that video to come. Anyway, so the Machinist designed a prototype bolt. The set screw was big and fat. You can see it in a video I took. I'm not even going to bother pulling it out. And all was right with the world, and I was really excited, and I started blasting away. And then I experienced, and I removed my air chamber and bolt, and lo and behold, the set screw did not break. It stripped the threading of the tap in the bolt that the machinist had made. Now, he black Loctited it in. And I didn't even know black Loctite existed, but this guy's been a machinist for a long time, so he has all these little secrets. And apparently it's like a rubber type of Loctite that is specifically made for things that are going to have high amounts of vibration or friction, such as shotguns and rifles and stuff like that. So it held as well, but the threading in the bolt that he tapped stripped. So I went back to him and I'm like, yeah, let's go back to the drawing table. And what I'd kind of like for him to do is to actually build the entire bolt system from scratch, and to where the firing pin and the bolt are one and the same. It's the same piece instead of having a screw attach them. I think that might be a little bit more work for him, whereas this is just a 10-minute, you know. So he's kind of bent on this first. But then his mom died. Like right after, this was around last Christmas, I made a video popping rounds with the prototype bolt. I'm all excited. That was the one and only thing I was thinking about marketing and selling. And if I was a dishonest guy like Daniel Sterling, I could have had that guy make me 100 of those right away and sell them all for $150, make a cool, 10 grand, and, a few months later when they all started breaking, oh well, I could have done that. There were a lot of people excited about that bolt. But instead, I wanted to send 5,000 rounds through it and see what happened before I started marketing it and selling it. But that is one thing that I actually was intending to eventually put up for sale. What I found out is that while it did last far longer than the stock, it didn't work. Not to the standards that I wanted it to work at, which was 5,000 rounds. And not 5,000 rounds going rapid fire. I'm talking like you see me doing in my videos. Real rapid fire, real abuse. I want it to handle that. And if I can't make it to that type of spec, I'm not gonna put it up for sale, So while Daniel Sterling and Henry Stone, for some reason think that, I don't know if they think that they're getting under my skin when they try to make fun of me about that, but it's like, it just goes to show that I'm an honest shooter. I'm not gonna put crap up like they do and then block people when that crap breaks and they're looking for their money back. And that's just, that's their go-to behavior. So they can make fun of me as much as they want. I feel like it only helps my cause and the cause of other people in this community. There's no shame in having a career that prevents you from being able to spend night and day on markers. The reason why there are large swaths of time that go by in between updates on what I'm doing with these little markers is because I'm busy. Not because I'm spending countless hours. He spends all this time working on these. No, it's just, I've got a life just like the rest of you. So, if I ever hook back up with this machinist, I'm thinking the next step will be to push him to make a bolt where the firing pin and the bolt are one and the same. Now, if he can do that and it works, that changes fucking everything. It changes the whole game with the VKS in many ways. And I'll be the first to admit, if I pull this off, it legitimizes Daniel Sterling's silly VKS power mod, because you will actually be able to use that without breaking your VKS if this works. That's how honest I am. I will admit The reason why that mod of his is silly right now is because you can't put that in a VKS. This is what's going to happen if you put his stupid mod in. Let me show you what's going to happen. If it doesn't immediately break the set screw in your firing pin, you know what it's going to do? It's going to blow the fucking regulator cap off. And I know a lot of people that that's happened to. Hasn't happened to me because I've never been dumb enough to buy anything from Daniel Sterling. But that is what happens. But hey, if that bolt can handle that power, then that's not going to happen. If you've got good O-rings and you've oiled it up. And guess what? If me or anyone ever figures this out and designs a bolt that can handle that power, no one's going to buy his stupid mod anyway, because there's already tons of other people that know how to make a similar mod to get similar numbers. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? Because after months of radio silence, I finally got a response from my machinist tonight. I texted him kind of randomly, like, hey, and keep in mind, like, I don't really know this guy very well. I'm really good friends with his wife. We went to high school, we went to grade school and high school together, and we've been on and off buddies ever since. We see each other at reunions, things like that. So lifelong friend, and you know, she introduced me to him, and we both hit it off pretty well. I felt like I thought he was a really cool dude. And he's just, you know, he's brilliant at what he does. He's been doing it for 20 or 30 years, so there's nothing this guy doesn't know. And I'm thinking, I've hit the jackpot with this machinist. And in no time at all, he brings me back this bolt, and he's like, yeah, it took me 10 minutes, so we can play with this, da-da-da. And I mean, I was really excited, and it didn't quite work out. Then his mom dies, and I think he went through a real hard grieving process. And bless his heart. I know I will when mine goes. So tonight I'm like, hey buddy, you know, I know it's been a while. Hope I'm not bugging you. I just wanted to touch base, resurface, kind of see if maybe you'd still be interested in playing with that bolt idea. And I got a message back from him that says, please stop texting me, not interested, thanks, with an exclamation point. And it was like a gut punch. I was like, oh, man, I wonder what I did. I don't think I know I didn't push the guy. I never gave him any attitude. And right as I'm like, well, I should probably apologize. I don't, you know, it's like his wife is my friend. I don't want there to be tension. So I'm like starting to be like, hey, I apologize for, you know, I'm sorry. I don't know what I did, but clearly I've annoyed you. So, and as I'm right about to send that, I get a second message back from him that says, hey, I'm sorry about that. Wrong number. I thought it was somebody else. I'm going to call you tomorrow. Let's set a time for you to bring the bolt back to me. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. First and foremost, that he still wants to talk to me and that I didn't do something to irritate the guy after he helped me. And secondly, that he's still willing to help me and keep redesigning this bolt. The only reason I've spent more time, I've gravitated towards the FN, and most of my videos have been about that recently, is because I can shoot it all the time without having to fix it afterwards. I mean, it's like, I love the VKS, but if I want to shoot the VKS for 2 or 3 hours, crank up the regulator all the way and send 500 rounds through it and just have a blast, it's gonna break probably before the end of that session. And if it doesn't, if I get lucky, then when I go home, I'm going to check that set screw and the firing pin, make sure the red Loctite has held and all that stuff before I put it away. But, you know, even if your red Loctite is holding, sometimes it's the red Loctite that gives, the pin becomes loose, and, you know, whatever. Other times the set screw just snaps in half. It just kind of depends. And I'll admit, I got sick and tired of doing repairs. This I've never had to do a single repair on, or this one, or the other handful that I have. They're so much fun because you can just blast away and they never fucking break. But they weren't as powerful as the VKS. They're tuned at 28 joules when they're sent to the cops. And I was able to get like 30 to 35 out of mine, maybe 40 to 45 out of some of them, stock, just tuning it up. Then I put longer barrels on them and cranked up all the way. I was like 55, 60, so I finally was achieving VKS level. But in doing that, I was causing all sorts of leaks and problems and cycling issues, and it was not practical at that power level. So then I finally went to work on the internals of it and figured some stuff out. It's not rocket science. I'm not, yeah, but I sure would love to be able to get back into this guy and just blast away without eventually anticipating hearing or that's another thing about the VKS is that these magazines, both the 10 round and the 15 round, I've had hang-ups. I've had jam issues with them. Sometimes it's ammo dependent. Sometimes it's about where your power's set. Sometimes it's about how fast you're trying to send them out. But I do have jams. Then you got your detent issues on the barrel. Those need to be changed occasionally. I mean, it's just the VKS is more of a labor of love and requires a lot more maintenance, and it requires consistent repairs. This requires no maintenance. This requires no repairs. The maintenance on this, every now and then you got to swab the barrel and drop some oil into your whip. I mean, it really is a remarkable piece of machinery. Then with this guy, my newest venture is that so because you can't really get this easily, you have to kind of dig to get these, especially if you want them new, and they're not cheap. But the internals, they're an auto mag. So the more you learn about an auto mag and how to tweak them, the more you can kind of build your own. And I want to sort of reverse engineer the internals of the FN303, which are now very outdated. There's far more advanced versions of the auto mag than what is inside this FN303. They perform at an insane level compared to what's in this. So I want to take what they've done with the FN303. I want to use newer, better performing components and basically design the same type of marker and then just design a different plastic shell to put around it. So it's a little bit better looking and a little bit more practical, up to and including having the bottle sit on the buttstock instead of going forward. Just design my own marker. Have it look and feel a little bit closer to this, but have it still perform in rapid fire like this. So those are your differences. Every little thing about this you can change. Every little thing, your hand guard, your hand grip, your hand guard, your foregrip. You can change all kinds of stuff on this. Everything up here on the rail. I mean, it's a one-to-one air platform. Not the case here. This guy down here, obviously extremely modifiable, every bit as much as the VKS. But here's my two big problems with the FSC. First, this dog shit ASA. And hey, for the record, it's light years better now that I have this little Wixen 3D mod on it. That makes it a lot more tolerable. But compared to the ASA on that and this thing is a piece of fucking shit. And this handle, it's just got this big, fat, massive handle. I hate the handle on this. It's just, I don't know. The handle on that and the handle on that, they feel like real handles on real guns. This feels like more like a toy, like an oversized, blocky toy. Now, is it powerful? Fuck yeah, it is. I don't know where she's shooting at. I'm gonna have to do a video with some chronographing. She feels powerful when I shoot it. But she's at the bottom of my agenda. So there you have it. New guy, less lethal reviews. Giving you an update on the VKS prototype bolt, which I was just about to put to rest. and make an update saying, sorry, I had high hopes, but looks like it's not going to happen. Well, it looks like it very well may still happen now. So for all of you that messaged me last winter saying, put me on your waiting list, I did make that waiting list. I still have it. And if I ever pull this off, you all will be the first that I contact. And then you have the differences between the FM303 and the VKS. The good, the bad, the ugly, the pros, the cons, little visual demo of both of them. You've seen quite a bit of shooting demos that I've put up of this. There's endless shooting demos of the VKS. So I hope this killed some time for someone that was bored, needing to have their time killed.